Rumors start floating around school that Kanade is a creep who's forcing girls to call him Oni-chan. But Oka praises Kanade for his boldness during the meeting. Yuki's behavior then suddenly changes when she learns from Oka that she's already told Kanade she likes him. And while Yuki is having trouble with her own feelings for Kanade, Kanade decides to target Konagi next for the mission. He asks her directly whether she likes him or not, and she replies that she doesn't not like him. But before she can answer him properly, Kanade is once again taken away by Konagi's fan club. And while he's getting beat up, one of the guys again comments that he loves Kanade's firm peach. When her fan club leaves, Konagi arrives and tells Kanade that she likes him as a person, and leaves shortly after, allowing him to progress further in his mission. But his joy is short-lived, as Konagi's fan club returns to beat him up, with one of the boys far too eager to put his hands on Kanade. Afterwards, Kanade decides to approach Ayame, a member of the Popular Five who is known for her huge melons and cruel personality, and she immediately refuses Kanade's request before even listening to him, but tells him that if he crawls on his hands and knees in front of her, then she'll listen to him. But to her surprise, Kanade does so without a hint of shame. Despite this, Ayame still refuses to listen to him. However, a sudden absolute choice reveals that Ayame's famed milkers are actually made of silicone, a secret which Kanade threatens to expose. With this, he is able to blackmail her into saying she likes him, and Kanade progresses further in his mission. The next day, Kanade goes to a children's show dressed as White Piggy, a popular character which Yuki is secretly a huge fan of. She ends up following Kanade around all day, unaware that he's the one in the costume, and the two end up having fun playing together all day. At the end of the day, Yuki confides in White Piggy that she always ends up saying weird things around a boy in her class because she can't control her feelings for him. In response, White Piggy comforts her and Yuki tells him she loves him, which gets Kanade even closer to accomplishing the mission. Suddenly, he's faced with another absolute choice, where he must choose between removing his White Piggy costume and exposing that he knows Yuki's secret, or to delete his own memory of seeing Yuki's true nature, as well as deleting a secret folder on his computer which contains top-secret research information on the female body. Not wanting to embarrass Yuki, he begrudgingly chooses to have his memory and secret stash erased. That night, Yuki thinks to herself that someday she'll have the courage to tell Kanade how she truly feels. The next day at school, Kanade asks the last remaining girl if she likes him as a person, to which she replies that she doesn't dislike him, and makes a bet that if his team manages to win the battle, then she'll give him a proper answer. Finally, the day of the battle arrives, and the first match is an acting competition between Vice President Soka and Yuragi, but Yuragi is easily able to win the crowd's favor with her cute little sister act. However, when she begins acting like a jealous yandere, her terrifying performance crushes Soka and grants Yuragi the first victory for the 5 rejects. The second match is between Oka and Konagi, who compete in an oil wrestling match, much to everyone's enjoyment. Oka initially dominates the competition, but she ends up slipping while performing her finishing move, and flies out of the ring and onto Kanade, where he ends up seeing another heavenly sight, but this ultimately grants Konagi the victory. The third match is between Ayame and Yuki, who have a contest to see who can come up with the most insulting nicknames for each other. But despite a close match, Ayame eventually wins the competition when Yuki becomes distracted by Ayame's airbags. Kanade then becomes a bit anxious, as the 5 rejects have lost 2 back-to-back matches, and to make matters worse, Karasu has gone missing and is nowhere to be found. But thankfully Chocola is granted permission to participate instead. The fourth match is another insult contest, but the Popular Five's male contestant can't bring himself to insult a lady and forfeits instead, which ties the score 2-2. With this, the final match and the decisive battle is between Sarah and Kanade, who compete in a match of rock, paper, scissors, which Kanade ends up winning, granting the 5 rejects victory over the Popular Five. Sarah then fulfills her side of the bargain by declaring her love for Kanade in front of the entire crowd, which greatly shocks everyone present. But what shocks Kanade the most is when he realizes that his mission is actually not finished yet, since Chocola has replaced one of the participants and must now also tell Kanade she likes him. But since Sarah is clinging onto him tightly and refusing to let go, Kanade has no choice but to ask loudly in front of everyone if Chocola likes him or not, to which Chocola replies that she loves him, surprising Kanade's other female friends, and ultimately completing Kanade's mission. And for his reward, the crowd begins throwing their things at him. After the events of the battle, Kanade becomes infamous around school for being a creepy womanizer, and the jealous boys beat him up at every occasion. Once he arrives in class, he's hugged from behind by Sarah, sparking further animosity from the male students and disgust from the females. Sarah then invites the 5 rejects to a water park, and the group agrees to go, but Yuki feels self-conscious of her flat chest. Kanade then receives a text message informing him that his next mission is to get a picture of Oka crying. That weekend, the 5 rejects and Utage go to the water park, minus Yuki because she declined to go. In order to complete the mission, Kanade and Chocola came up with several plans to make Oka cry, but as a last resort, Kanade plans to put onion extract in a water gun and spray Oka in the eyes. Once at the park, they run into Sarah, Ayame, and Konagi, who decided to come as well, but Sarah mysteriously warns Kanade that slow and steady wins the race, and tells him not to rely on cheats or cheap tricks. While the rest of the rejects play around the water park, Kanade runs into Yuki, who decided to go after all. She acts emotionless as usual despite being self-conscious, but when Kanade compliments her on her swimsuit, she's unable to contain her embarrassment. Kanade then attempts to make Oka cry throughout the day, but is unable to do so. Left with no other choice, Kanade attempts to use his onion extract gun to try and get Oka to cry. But before he can pull the trigger, he suddenly receives an absolute choice which forces him to choose between shooting the gun up his butt or up his nose. As he prepares to shoot up his nose, he laments that he shouldn't have tried to cheat after all. Meanwhile, Sarah watches from a distance and smiles. Later, he and Oka are invited by Yuragi and Chocola to go to the water park's haunted house, famed for its spooky authenticity. Seeing this as another chance to get Oka to cry, Kanade agrees. However, the haunted house proves even scarier than they had hoped, causing Oka to temporarily regress back into a childlike state. So Kanade has to carry her out of the haunted house, and Oka expresses her excitement at being carried on someone's back. Meanwhile, Sarah tells Chocola that her role as Kanade's pet may soon come to an end, which causes her eyes to change color. After a while, Oka returns to her usual self, and she cries tears of joy due to the relief that Kanade was there by her side when she was scared. Sarah then appears and lends Kanade her camera phone, as his was destroyed while inside the haunted house, and he takes a picture of the crying Oka, allowing him to complete another mission. Sarah, who is revealed to have some sort of connection to the gods, then explains to Kanade that the way to get rid of the curse is to fall in love with someone. Elsewhere, Chocola expresses her jealousy to Yuki and Oka because of how close they are with Kanade. He then arrives shortly after, and Chocola declares her love for him. Suddenly, Kanade receives an absolute choice which forces him to declare his love for one of 3 girls, or a 4th choice that says something mysterious will happen at the water park. Not wanting to hurt the other girl's feelings, he chooses the 4th option. He then rushes to Utage and asks her what the 4th choice means, but she simply falls to her knees in horror as she suspects that something terrible is about to happen. Desperate to spare innocent people from whatever might happen, Kanade and Chocola rush to broadcast a warning to the entire water park and encounter various characters from their school along the way. Once they finally make it to the broadcasting room, Chocola tells Kanade that she wants to hear his answer to her confession, but he replies that he doesn't feel the same way about her, and that he doesn't want to have half-hearted feelings by forcing himself to be in love. Regardless of this, Chocola says that she still loves him, and points out that the microphone was on, much to Kanade's embarrassment. The two then return to the others as it mysteriously begins to snow at that water park, which was actually the 4th choice's result all along. This leads to a massive snowball fight among the water park attendees, and as he and the others play in the snow, Kanade remarks that he will likely be stuck with the curse for a long time, but he hopes to make choices along the way that he doesn't regret. As always, thanks for watching this anime recap, and I hope to see you again soon.